Hi, Year 10. Welcome to the first video of Chapter 9 Measurement. We're going to be concentrating on 9A, which is length and perimeter. Length and perimeter. Okay, so the length and the perimeter. Perimeter is just a fancy word for how long something is. What you need to know is if you've got your answer or your length in kilometres and you want to change it to a different unit, it might be more appropriate to be in a different unit. This is what you need to do. In kilometres, you multiply by 1,000 to get the answer in metres, by 100 to get centimetres, by 10 to get millimetres. And vice versa, if you're in millimetres and you want to go to centimetres, you need to divide by 10. Centimetres to metres, divide by 100. Metres to kilometres, divide by 1,000. You might want to pause the video now and jot that down because you may need to use it and have that in your notes. All right, I've got two questions today that I'm going to go through. The first is this composite shape. So it's not just a rectangle or a square, it's like two rectangles joined together. So to calculate the perimeter of a shape like that, you need to add up all the lengths of the boundary of this shape. Some of them aren't given, so a couple that we need to work out. We need to work out this length here and also this length down the side here so that we can add them into a sum. So this length here, this first one, it's not given, but we can see that this length down the bottom is 2 and across the top is 4. So if we say 4 take away 2, this ends up being 2 centimetres as well. And likewise, this distance down here, we can get by adding the 2 and the 4 here for these side lengths, which add to be exactly the same length. So we end up with our 6 centimetres. And then all we need to do is go around and make sure we include all these lengths. So if we were to trace around this shape, it would be 4, 2, 2, 4, 2, and 6. So we just have to add those values up now. Which is going to equal 8, 12, 14, 20. So we've got 20 centimetres. This is where in questions like this you have to be careful because that's not the end of it. It now wants us to convert to millimetres. So in order to do that, we can use our chart here. We're in centimetres. We want it in millimetres, so we can times by 10. We can do that if you need to do it on your calculator, you can. Otherwise, timesing by 10 is just adding a 0. So we've got 200 millimetres. Really straightforward. Okay, now what about if we need to calculate, we don't call it the perimeter of a circle anymore, we now call it the circumference, but it means exactly the same thing. Circumference of a circle is the perimeter. And there's two ways that we can calculate that. We can either use the formula that we call C is circumference is equal to 2 pi r, where r is equal to radius. Or we can have circumference is equal to pi d, where d is equal to diameter. So in this question here, we've been given a radius. The radius is equal to 5. So that means it's halfway across the circle. So we're going to use this question here. If it had have given us the diameter across this circle would have been 10. It's double the radius. If we had have been given the diameter, if I just draw a line across there, the diameter would be all the way across. It should actually be right on that line. It's exactly the same as double the radius. But we're going to use the radius for this question. You're going to need to use your calculator. So I need to grab mine. I've got my green one here. You can use the black one as well. It doesn't make any difference. Although for this topic of measurement, we'll pretty much predominantly be using our green calculator. So our circumference is equal to 2 times pi times our radius, which is equal to 2 times pi multiplied by 5. And if we put that into our calculator, the pi button is 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons down on the left-hand side. So we simply go 2 times pi times 5. And if it gives you an answer, so my calculator has returned that. what you need to do is you need to press the two little arrows in the bottom of your calculator. They look like this. Bottom right-hand corner of your calculator has got a button that looks like this. If you click on that button, it converts your exact value of 10 pi. I didn't copy that down correctly. It converts your value of 10 pi into a decimal, and the decimal is 31.42. We want to use 2 decimal places, and there's no units in that question, so we don't need to use any units. So this button here is from your green calculator. And it converts to decimals. Let me just scroll up a bit. Okay, so if you understand both those 2 examples, I'd like you now to complete the textbook questions. We're looking at exercise 9A. It's on page 427 of your textbook. You need to do question 1 every second question. There's not many of them. Why is my screen scrolling down? There's not many of them. Just complete every second one. So A, C, E, and then question 3, 4, and 7, A, B, C. Thank you.